right, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We're here today to talk a little bit about Project Online. My name is Patti Smerk. I'm heading up the project management branch of Simplex IT, and we try to get together once a month to talk about what's new in the project management world, whether that be some new tools or some new features to tools, some methodologies or something specific to the discipline. And today's topic is Project Online. So we did one of these videos, gosh, about a year ago, but some things have changed and we thought it was about time to refresh our video. So I hope you enjoy. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to type them in the chat window. I'll keep an eye on those as best I can as we're going through today's webinar. What you're seeing now on the screen is what we like to call our NASCAR screen. This is logos of all of our partnerships and folks that we work with. So should Simplex IT be your IT department? Well, we certainly hope so. Even if you have an IT department, we'd love to work with them and maybe help spread the workload a little bit. So if you can answer yes to any of these questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to one of us at Simplex IT. You can contact me directly or Bob. Some of you are familiar with him, and we'll help you out. Future topics, we have a lot going on this year, even though there's only a few more months left in the year. So Bob will be speaking on Windows 10 next on the 21st. We'll talk about business software trends at the Cozy event on the 22nd. On October 28th, this will be fun. This is our first field trip. We're actually going to go to the Microsoft store at Beechwood Mall for any of you that are local to the Northeast Ohio area. So if you can join us for that, that would be great. We would love to see you out there. And then a couple more webinars. So we'll be doing Word 2016 tips and tricks in November. If you've recently upgraded or seen the upgrade notifications for Office 2016, there's some new features there. So we'll just go through each month and talk about the specific programs. So we're going to start with Word in November, and then we'll go to Excel in December, and then most likely Outlook. November 19th, though, our project management webinar will be What's New in Project 2016. So right now we're going to specifically focus on Project Online. Next month we'll specifically focus on Microsoft Project, the desktop version, and there are some differences there. And then I'm really excited, on December 17th, we'll talk about Microsoft Planner. Some of you may have noticed our blog announcement for this new program. Microsoft has announced this Microsoft Planner program. We don't have a lot of information on it yet, but it seems to be more of a kind of a scaled down version of Project. So for those of you that, maybe Microsoft Project is an overkill, but sticky notes and Excel spreadsheets aren't quite enough, this seems like it'll fit a good gap there. So look for us there in the middle of December. Hopefully we'll have some more great information to pass on by then. I hope by now you've had a chance to see our new website. It is live. I'm working on getting some more content on the PM side. So if you look under IT services, you should see Simplex PM. And then right now there's not a lot there, but I'm hoping to link up our YouTube videos and start putting some more information out there. Also, keep an eye on the event calendar on our new website. If you look under news and events, there'll be an event calendar so you can see all of the future webinars, sign up for future webinars, which is something I love to do because sometimes I forget to look month to month. So if there's a webinar or somebody that I like to follow, I like to just sign up for, several of them in the future all at once so I don't have to think about it later. So please check that out. If there's anything you'd like to see on there or any specific topic you'd like to be covered, certainly let me know. Okay. So for those of you that are familiar with Simplex IT, you're probably mostly familiar with the IT portion of Simplex IT. So that's your virtual CIO, we say, handling pretty much anything in the IT realm, whether you need assistance with, virus software or managed services or anything IT related. You need a new computer, you need a backup plan, whatever. We can help you there with Simplex IT. And then recently we launched 2 new branches of Simplex IT. So one is focused on the database world. So Doug is heading that up. And he's mainly focused on corporate data, using that data, making sure that it's easily accessible to the people who need it and not so accessible to the people that shouldn't be viewing it. So if you have just a bunch of data out there and not quite sure if it's working for you, give Doug a call or an email. You see his email address there on the screen. And then Simplex PM is my branch. This is what I'm helping to stand up. And my goal here is to bring project management to the small to medium-sized companies. So we all know that the big companies of the world are pretty good at project management, but a lot of those disciplines can still be beneficial to the smaller companies, especially when it comes to workforce management. Making sure that everybody isn't overloaded and everybody has equal amounts of work to do, and then just managing multiple projects. If you have a lot going on in your office, it's very easy to let one project sort of fall to the back burner, and another one maybe take up all of your time and attention. So I'm very interested in the project management world and the tools, and specifically bringing those to the small to medium-sized companies. So Project Online is similar to Microsoft Project Server. So you may be familiar with Microsoft Project. Microsoft Project is the tool that we use, on our desktops. This is the tool that we create the project schedules with. We go in and we specify which tasks need to be done, and we assign resources to those tasks. And you can do some of that in Project Online. I'll show you. But then typically, years ago, once we did that in Project, we would have to publish that plan, and that would go up to Project Server. Okay? Now, a lot of that functionality is integrated with Project Online. So with Project Online, you can create your schedules there, or you don't have to. If you prefer to use Project, you can use Project and push it up to Project Online. But the great thing about Project Online is that you can see multiple projects at one time. So with just Microsoft Project, it's really great for managing one project. And yeah, you can create consolidated projects and master projects, but it's not ideal. Project Online is ideal for managing multiple projects and teams of people who are working on multiple projects. Okay. So it's available as a subscription. So you can, just like with Office 365, how you pay your monthly or your annual subscription fee, same thing applies with Project Online. You can use it with or without Microsoft Project. And if you're thinking about purchasing a subscription, certainly reach out to me and let's have a chat about it, because there's a lot of money that can be saved if you really take a minute and document or think through who needs what type of license. There's a couple different licensing options when it comes to Project Online. One is Project Online with Microsoft Project. That would be for your project managers. So the people who are developing schedules, who need to run reports, who are really in Microsoft Project every day, and that's the one that's the most expensive. The other one is just Project Online. I like to say that that's kind of for the backup project managers or the people who might need to make small edits to the project schedule, but they're not living and breathing and looking at it all day long. And then there's what's called Project Lite. And Project Lite is for your team members. So Project Lite shows team members all of their tasks. I'll point that out as we get into the demonstration a little bit. But it's enough for somebody who's working on your project that doesn't need to see the full project. They just need to know their tasks, when their deadlines are due, what risks and issues they have assigned to them. They can view the entire project, but they can't make any changes to it. And that license is only $7. So if you really think about who the roles that each person on your team is going to play and what they're going to do with this product, you can really save a lot of money. Buying a $30 or $40 license versus buying a $7 license really adds up. So I'll try to point that out as we go through which features are available and which one. But I believe early next year, I have it on the schedule to just do another webinar just focused on Project Lite, because a lot of folks are interested in that. Figure if you buy a project license for your project manager at $30 or $40, and then everybody else just uses a $7 license, it becomes very affordable. So look for that in the future. All right, I'm just going to take a pause here and switch screens so that you can see Project Online. So the only thing I did before we started this webinar was I logged into our portal. So um, I, I logged in our portal and I went to projects, and that's it. So what you see here is our sort of our development staging area. It's where I just go and play and do webinars and trainings and things. So excuse me, some data might seem a little out of whack, but like I said, it's my testing area and where I go play and figure stuff out um, and do webinars. So that's why we're here today. So the first thing that I wanted to show you is the Project Center, and that's what you're looking at right now. And this is, in my opinion, the greatest thing about Project Online, because you can see in a very quick instance, as soon as you log in, all of the projects going on at your organization, and you see those all listed here. And then you can see their start and finish date. And there's other information here too. If I just scroll over to the right, I can see the other fields that are available, percent complete, work duration, and so on. And then over to the right in the Gantt chart type view, I can see when the projects start and when they stop. And then the gray bar that you see is the percent complete. So you'll notice that, oh, let's say this last large project, it's about halfway through. So it's, and I'm just eyeballing that, it might be a little bit less than that. Okay. Yep, here if I scroll over a little bit, I can see my percent complete was 43%, so a little bit less than 50. But you can see, like I said, a very quick, as soon as you log in, you can see the status of all of your projects very quickly. Another reason why I like this view is because you can use it to determine if you have the capability or the manpower or the time or the resources to add on another project. You know, if you came to me in the middle of this year in April and said, you know, hey, Patty, can we take on another project? I would look at this and probably say, oh, no, I cannot. We've got, a lot going on. Let's look at the middle or beginning of 2016. Okay. And some of these can be scheduled out further as well. So if you did say that to me last year and we decided to start one in April of 2016, you would see that its Gantt bar wouldn't start until the appropriate date range here. Okay. All right, from here, you can drill down and view the details of any one of these projects. Okay, so let's say that I'm working on, oh, I guess it doesn't matter. How about the resources one? And some of these you can see I created specifically for previous webinars. So here, if I click on one of my projects, I can view the details of that project. So right now I'm looking at my project task list. So I see all of my tasks here, and I can expand and collapse these tasks just like I would in Microsoft Project. Very similar. You see the Gantt bar over on the right hand side, or I should say the Gantt chart over on the right hand side here, so you can see which tasks are scheduled. Oftentimes you'll see the task dependencies. So this task, I can't start this task until this one ends. The black bars are your summary tasks, so those would be your bold tasks here. So as far as what data you can see in Project Online versus Project, they're very similar, especially from the schedule perspective. So from here, I can see almost everything regarding the project schedule. I see I have a milestone here that my scope statement is complete, and that's showing up in a little black diamond. If I wanted to look at the project details, right now that it defaults to take me to the project schedule whenever I click on a project. There's also the project details. And this just sort of helps from a program or portfolio perspective. So if I had a specific department that I wanted to track, or I wanted to track who my project manager is or who my owner is of this project, I can make changes here in the project details, just very basic project information. And this can be edited as well. So if you had something specific, let's say that you had department's already there. Let's say that you had a specific division or location or anything specific to your organization that you wanted here, we can change that as well. And then in addition to the schedule and the project details, you also have what's called the project site. And the project site is really nice because it gives you an area outside of the project schedule to work within your project. So this particular project that I clicked on for this example doesn't have anything in the project site, which is fine. But you can see it looks very much like some of the team sites that you might be familiar with in SharePoint. You can have a news feed, you can upload documents, you can have a shared calendar, you can link it to email, have risks and issues and deliverables listed here. So it's like a complementary or a complement to Project Online, because Project is really just your project schedule and the people working on the project. There's nowhere to store additional documents or reference material or things like that. So if you finish a task and your task was to create a training manual, and when you're done with it, you attach it to the task, you could view that easily here. And I'll also show you how you can do that in Project Online. But this is Team Sites. I did do a webinar on Team Sites recently, so if you're perusing around YouTube and you see our channel, there should be one there specifically on Project Team Sites. And the Team Sites didn't change too much, not as much as Project Online. So if I wanted to go back to my list of projects, I can just click on Projects, and that takes me right back to where we started from, where we had our entire list. If I wanted to create a new project here, and again, I'm doing this without Project Online, or I'm sorry, without Microsoft Project, I just go to the Project tab and I can click New. It'll ask me if I want to do it in Project Professional, but let's pretend that we don't see that there and pretend that I don't have Project Professional. Here I can select SharePoint Task List or Enterprise Project. SharePoint Task List is basically just like what it sounds like. It's a list of tasks in SharePoint. So there's not a whole lot that you can do with it. Enterprise Project would be the Microsoft Project equivalent. So I would select Microsoft, or I would select Enterprise Project, and here I would give it some basic information. So I would call it Webinar Example, and I can enter a description. Let's say that I don't want this to start until, I'm going to plan ahead for this one, something that we rarely have time to do, plan something out for 6 months before it starts. So let's say that it's going to start on May 16th. And let's say that I will be the owner of this project. So I'll just click Finish, and then it'll give me the main structure of the project. And again, I'm doing this without Microsoft Project. This is all done in Project Online. And you can see that it says it's processing over here to the right. So it's working on it, it's generating that new project, it's creating the web page to show the new project. So it's not as fast as Microsoft Project, but it's probably as fast as Word Online or Excel Online, any one of the other online programs that you're used to working with. So this will create the project, it'll create the back side, the project page. It will add it to my list of projects. It's coming up now, I see. Add it to my list of projects with the Gantt bar over on the right-hand side. So here, this is my new project that I've just created, webinar example, and now I can start adding some tasks. So I can add a task 1, be very original here, task 2, and task 3. So I just entered that just like I would in Microsoft Project. If I wanted to, I could come over and scroll to the right and enter the duration and the start and the finish, but I won't go through all of that here in this webinar since we have limited time. But you can see how easy it is to create a project and then to go in and enter the tasks. Okay. All of my options are up at the top in the ribbon for editing and creating a project schedule. So we're in edit mode already, that's why edit is shaded. but I can choose to save and close. Publish just pushes my changes up to everybody else. So until I do that, they're just saved for me, just locally for me, which is nice for a project manager because you may find that you're playing around with the schedule a little bit, moving things around, and you don't necessarily want your team members to be notified or to see those changes every single time you make them because you might be changing the same task, 5 or 6 times a minute. So it is nice. I do like that feature that allows me to make changes and then control when everybody else sees it. Okay. Remember, every time we create a project schedule, ideally we create it planning for the future. So we would create it with the tasks in the future. Sometimes that doesn't happen and we're creating it the day that we're starting the tasks, or even worse, backdating things where we're entering tasks that have already started, last week. But ideally that doesn't happen. Ideally you create your project schedule, everybody agrees on it, everybody signs off on it, and then you save the baseline. So once you save the baseline, which you can do here in Project Online by selecting Save Baseline, once you save the baseline, any changes that you make to the project from that point forward will be compared to that baseline. So if I save the baseline and say, okay, this project is going to take 6 months to complete, then I can start going through as the tasks are completing, and I can track my percentage complete up here in the toolbar at the top. And I can see the impact of those changes. So I can see, oh, okay, now I'm starting to run a little bit behind, or I'm starting to run a little bit ahead of schedule. And I do have another webinar on that as well. It's called Updating Your Project Schedule. So very important. Once we create our project schedule, I know it's a lot of work to pull it together and to get all the tasks in there, but then we don't want to just put it on a shelf and let it collect dust. From that point on, we want to keep it up to date. We want to be able to tell our resources when there are changes or when things are looking like they might be falling behind schedule or ahead of schedule if I were going to be more or less pessimistic. All right, so here, like I said, I can save the baseline. I can change between manually and auto schedule for my tasks. I can insert and delete tasks, add things to the timeline. I have all of my view options, so I can choose to view a number of different views here. It just controls which columns I'm looking at. I can also filter and group, so I may want to filter on just milestone tasks if you have a very large project or tasks that are just behind schedule. You can group by maybe resource, the person doing those tasks. So just some different viewing options. Before we run out of time here, I know that we're getting tight on time, so I did want to touch on the tasks page. So right now we've looked at all of the projects. I showed you how to create a new project in Project Online. Ideally, your team members, the people that are actually working on these tasks, would also have Project Lite. And I mentioned that earlier when we were looking at the slides. So if somebody has Project Lite, they will mainly have access to their project. Oops. Let me go ahead and save my changes first. They'll mainly have access to their project and their tasks. But their view and most of their time will be spent in this tasks area. Okay, so this is the person who's working on the tasks. He has the $7 subscription. He would come in here, or she would come in here and look at the list of tasks. Here I can see all of my tasks. I can see the project name and then the tasks for that project. So this is assuming that I'm working on multiple projects. So if I'm working on multiple projects, then there's probably a lot here because, like I said earlier, this is sort of my playground. But let's say that I finished this task, review all documentation. If I finish this task, I can click on, well, I guess if I wanted to view additional information about this task, I would click on it. This is the task progress, total work on the task, percent complete. I must have come in here and updated it and said it was 25% complete back in June. So you can see all of the history of this task. Okay. And again, this is my team member that can see this. It's not just the project manager. I'm just going to click cancel and get out of the details of this task. And back in my task view is where I can select my updates. So here I can say that I either have 0 hours remaining or it's 100% complete. So I'm just going to say this is 100%. I'm going to say this is 100% complete. And so is the next one, and so is the next one. Okay, so those are done. I want to go ahead and save those changes, and now I want to tell my project manager that I'm done with them. So now all I'm going to do is click the Send Status button, and I'm going to say to send the status for all the tasks. I only updated 3, so only 3 will go. And then that will send a notification to my project manager saying, hey, Patti updated her tasks. Do you want to approve these updates? Okay. My project manager, assuming that it's not me, but I'll change hats here for a minute and show you what it looks like from the project manager perspective. My project manager would get a notification, and then they would go into this approvals area, and they can choose to accept or reject the changes made by the resources. So they do have control, or they do have the ability to make changes, but the project manager has to approve it. So here I would say, yep, I talked to this person, I agree, they're finished with this task, I'm going to accept these changes. And I just selected the few that I wanted to make changes to. And I can type my comments for my team member, way to go, thanks, and click OK. Now, what's really nice from the project manager perspective is now that I've accepted those changes, that updates my project schedule. So I don't have to go back to the project schedule and say, yep, 100% complete, Patti did it, or Joe did it. I don't have to sit in project meetings and try to write down, tasks that are complete. I don't have to call everybody and find out the status of these tasks. It's all in the system for me. So now when I have my project meetings, I can say, oh, thanks for entering your status. I see that you're ahead of schedule. Great. Or thanks for entering your status. I see that we need a couple more days before George's task can start. And we can have those conversations in status meetings and make them a little bit more valuable and a little bit more interactive rather than just gathering the specific task status. All right. So that was my approvals page. And again, let me just go back to tasks to show you what that looks like. Now, anybody who has the $7 Project Lite subscription will be able to see all of their tasks. They'll be able to see all of the projects in their tasks view, but they'll also be able to see all of the projects in the Project Center. So if I'm assigned, let's just say that I have 100 projects going on in my organization, and these are the projects that I'm assigned to, I would only see the ones that I have tasks assignments in. So this is really nice because if I'm assigned a task in a project, I may want to see the entire project. A good team member doesn't just look at their tasks in a vacuum. They want to be able to see what what else is going on in their project. So let's pick a better example. That one I had up there was pretty short. Project rollout looks like a good one. So let's say if I'm a team member and I have tasks assigned in this project rollout, I will still be able to see it in the list of projects. I'll still be able to click on it, and I'll still be able to see the entire project schedule. Now I can't make changes here as a team member. I won't be able to make any changes here. The only changes I can make are back in that tasks view. But it's really nice because, like I said, if you make those changes in the task view, then your project manager can accept or reject those changes. All right. If you're interested in any of the other topics here, risks and issues, I know there's a webinar that we created for that, and then also resources. I did want to touch on this just very briefly. I know that we're running short on time. but I think that it is important. There should be another webinar out there about resources specifically, but I did want to just touch on it. So the reason I like to mention the resources is because it's such a huge value, especially to smaller companies, medium-sized companies that are really, really watching their resource utilization. So basically this is just saying, hey, what are my resources doing? Do I have any resources that have too much to do? And do I have any resources that don't have enough to do? And this is the screen where you get that answer. So I just clicked on the resources in the ribbon up here, and I see that here I have Bob is one of my resources. This is the project he's working on, and these are all the tasks that he has assigned in this project. Here's another project, and these are all of his tasks. Okay, and so on and so on. So this goes on probably indefinitely. So I can see all of my project information by resource. The thing that I like even more than that is the resource availability graph. And I just clicked on that here so you can see what it looks like. This shows which resources have availability or are over allocated. So right now I'm looking at assignments by resource. So I have one for Bob and one for Patty. You can see they're green and blue there in the graph. And I have a date range. I just accepted the defaults. I didn't enter anything specific in here. But in this view area, I can click on maybe remaining availability. So let me see who has any availability. I've selected, let's say, all of my machinists, and I've got a new rush job coming in, and I want to see who has some availability. Then here would be a great view to be able to show you that. Okay, you also have a table below, so you can see specifically month by month how many hours each person is assigned, what their capacity is, and what their availability is. So you get these two nice summary rows plus the breakdown of all of their assignments. And again, that's by month, and you can change that up at the top if you want it by week or day, depending on how detailed you want to get. Okay. All right, so I apologize for going over a couple minutes. Please, if you have any questions, certainly type them in the chat window and I can address them. I did want to just flip back over to our PowerPoint slide and remind you that next month we'll be talking about Project 2016 and what's new in Project 2016. That should be available for download now. If you have Office 365, you should be able to download that. So if you're using it and you have any specific questions or challenges that you're running into, certainly shoot me an email. You see my email address up on the screen there. Send me an email and I'll try to help you out. Or if it's just something that you want to say, hey, maybe you should mention this in the next webinar, or this is something that I found really helpful. Let me know and I'll pass that along to everyone. Okay. All right, I don't see any questions in the sidebar, so I will we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Like I said, if you want to chat any more about project or project management in general, certainly please reach out to me. Okay, thank you and have a great afternoon.